Welcome everyone to our Monday night show. I was about to say Wednesday night. Our original shiur was Wednesday night. Anyways, to our Monday night shiur. We fixed Wednesday night. Now we're on Monday night. It happens to be the tikkun of Monday night is very strong. The woman took Wednesday night. They have a stronger power to be mitaken.
We have to switch them on next week.
Yeah, next week. It's such a coincidence. Anyways, let's not get off tangent. Usually we get off tangent 20 minutes into this year. We get off in the beginning is already So before we start the shiur, I want to say the shiur Baruch Hashem is sponsored Lef'at Shelema Daniel Shalom Ben Rosa Shoshana. Hashem yishlach lo Ref'at Shelema Bimhera Gabriel Bekarov say amen. Hashem yishlach lo שיזכה כל החיים שלו to stand על שני רגליו בעזרת השם יתברך ויחיה חיים ארוכים טובים ומתוקים עם אשתו בעזרת השם יתברך וילדיו. And also רפואה שלמה to זויה בת ברנו. השם ישלח לו רפואה שלמה. אלנה רפאן אללה רפאן אללה. התורה היא מלזעוק רפואה קרבה אלוה וכן יזמן לומר. And I also want to make a shout out to a listener to ours from Alabama, Sweet Home Alabama, and Joshua from Alabama. I want to say thank you for always being there for us.
Thank you, Joshua.
And thank you, Josh. And
from Edison, New Jersey.
And from Edison, New Jersey. Yeah, there you go. We got a shout out over from Edison, New Jersey.
Highland Park.
Listen, you did your homework.
Already interviewed them.
So shout out to our listeners and to the people. Without you guys, the shiur wouldn't be. That's the truth. So the zechut is yours just as it's mine. And to all the hundreds of listeners that are listening and almost 1,000 subscribers, we're almost there, Rabbi Isai. It's all our zechut. So this week's parashah is Parashah Toledot. Ve'ele Toledot Yitzchak ben Avraham. Avraham holid et Yitzchak. These are the generations of Yitzchak, the son of Avraham. Avraham holid et Yitzchak. So I had the zechut yesterday to be at the dinner of my son's yeshiva, MTJ, Mesivta Tiferet Yerushalayim, Yeshiva of Staten Island. And over there, the son of Rav Moshe Feinstein, he's in his late 80s, Rav Reuben Feinstein. He's one of the Gedol Adors of America. He gave a speech, and his speech shook me. Usually for a dinner, when you come to a dinner, you stay for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and you see it's not, nothing to do there, and you leave. This time we stayed almost till the end. The shiurim of the vorts of the Rebbes were something out of this world. I want to share you what he said yesterday. And shiur really is about, we have this week's parashah, this is his words, but it's really, all the mefarshim say this week's parashah is a powerhouse, mamash a powerhouse of chinuch yiladim, raising kids, a powerhouse of shalom bayit, how to deal in a marriage, a powerhouse of limud Torah, a powerhouse of gimilut chasadim. It's like whatever you want in this week's parashah. It's a small parashah, by the way. It's very small, shorter than Chayesara, Vayera. It's one of the smallest parashas of Bereshis. And so much is packed into it, but in the smallest details, you find the greatest things. And obviously, the biggest question everybody has this week's parashah, it's a sad thing. Moreno Rabbeinu Ovadia Yosef, he was a Baal Koreh all of his life. He used to read the Torah for the Kahal. He was a very emotional rabbi. To be a teacher, you have to be an emotional person, but you have to know how to control those emotions. That means you have to learn Musar your whole life. And Ovadia Yosef, when he used to read the Parashah, there were a couple of Parashahs he used to cry. He couldn't hold himself back when he used to read the Torah. Probably the most emotional Parashah in the whole 53, 54 Parashiot is when Reuben tells his brothers, don't kill our brother. What will our father say? He used to cry when he used to read the Torah for years, 50, 60, 70 years. He used to cry when he used to read a Parashah. It's a very emotional Parashah. Also, when Reuben, the oldest brother who took his firstbornship, snatched away from him, and willingly was snatched away from him, and he said in jail, I told you guys, the boy's blood will be answered for. Look at the emunah, Rabbi Isai. You have to look at look at our forefathers' emunah. Like, they used to see everything. Nothing is a coincidence. Mamash. I have to tell you guys a story. Just something that I experienced last night. I was at the dinner, and afterwards I was a bit hungry, and because Beit Yosef, Glat Kasher, I cannot, so I didn't really eat anything. So I went to buy myself a small little shawarma after the dinner. I'm not gonna say where it was. I went over there to buy it, and I got into the Mashgiach was serving me. The Mashgiach. Wow, such an honor. Hear what the Mashgiach said. The Mashgiach was serving me, and he was telling me, listen, my son is finishing 5th, 6th grade. I don't have a yeshiva. Why? What happened? Tuition is too expensive. You're a Mashgiach for the love of God. You're supposed to check. I started to speak to him. I didn't want to speak to him, but he was digging. I'm a Gadaev. We can't hold ourselves back. Once he started today, I was like, you gotta have emunah. The Torah, the Gemara, Rosh Hashanah says 2 things are not given from your pocket. Everything is from Hashem. What are they? The food for Shabbat. Thank you, Marino Halevi. And the second thing is the tuition of your kids to teach them Talmud Torah. He's like, yeah, but I'm still paying for it. It's my part. I said, listen, Rebbe, you're a mashgiach over here. You have to... Anyways, we spoke. I said, listen, I can't teach you the Torah on 1 foot. You want 78-15 parsons of the Lord? You could come Monday nights. We'll speak from today till tomorrow. He started to laugh. I started to laugh. I left. I thought I left. The owner of the shawarma place calls me over. He said, Rabbi, he doesn't know who I am. But he sees I'm a beard, you know how it is. It goes with the thing. Yeah, it happens to you too? There you go. It's a stereotype. He says, come in, I wanna ask you a question. I can't do the Russian accent. For the life of me, I can't do it. He tells me, I want to ask you a question. I said, I asked all the rabbis this question. Nobody can give me this answer. Oh God, I'm like, I have to deal with this right now. I'm gonna ask for a refund for my shawarma. He tells me, who went up there and came back and said what was? That's the famous story. But he got me in such a moment. I had to rip the guy apart. I started giving him proof. He's like, no, you don't answer me this question. I want to know what I told him. Yoshka said his mother went up and she went with God and she had a baby. I'm going to be a Krit Mach right now. Whoever believes in signs can find a sign in anything. The Jewish people are not Jewish because somebody came back from the dead. The Jewish people are not Jewish because somebody went up there and came back down and said, I saw whatever I saw. There's a million people like this. Go on YouTube, said, life after death. You're going to find Krit Machs, you're going to find Muslims, you're going to find Jewish. Whatever you want, you're going to find over there. We're not Jewish because Avraham Avinu went up over there and he said, I went up and I saw something. You could see many things. I told him, your father kept Pesach? He said, yes. Your father? Yes. Your father? Yes. Your grandfather? I don't know. I said, where do you think he learned Pesach from? And your father, until where? He said, until Har Sinai. Did they keep Pesach? Same as you? He said, yes. Why? Because did they see Hashem speak at Moshe Rabbeinu on Har Sinai?
Yes.
But this is not what I asked, he said. Who went up there? I said, listen, I don't have time to play with you games. Either you believe in Hashem or you don't. I told him, and I'm telling everybody over here and people who are listening. This week's Parashah talks about Chinuch Yeladim. We have to teach our children that seeing isn't always believing. Many people see many things. Many people hear many things. Esav Parashah, and I call him Parashah, said to Yaakov Avinu, he was 15 years old. He said, how did Hashem take such a tzaddik like whom? Avraham Avinu. Such a tzaddik, who could imagine take such a tzaddik? All his life filled with gimlut chasadim. All of his life filled with knasat orchim. Tfilah, navi, whatever you want, he's that. How did Hashem take him? It must be en din ve'en dayan. There is no judge and there is no judgment. So I want to give up everything for a bowl of lentils. You know what I call that? Today it's not a bowl of lentils. You know what it is?
Okay.
No. Today it's a J. It's a dub. It's weed. It's a smoke. It's everything is mutar today. I'll give up everything for a little bit of what? Of enjoyment. What can I do to enjoy in my life for 10 minutes? And that's where the Satan gets you. Why? Because he'll give you enjoyment right away, but then in 20 minutes it's gone. Then what do you have to do? Do it again. And then you'll do it again, and again, and again, and again, until you don't feel the pleasure anymore in it. So then he'll offer you something better. And then you'll do it again, and again, and again, until you have no wife, no life, no kids. I heard a story this past day, and this is all to do with Esav over here, and this is why Esav lost the blessings. And I'm going to talk about why Yitzchak, people complain. I write the thing of the shiur, and I don't talk about it, so I have to connect the dots. And I'm going to tell you guys, Rabbi said, why did Esav lose the blessings, and why did Yitzchak want to bless Esav? And why did Rifka, this is a very big lesson in Shalom Bayit to all the people who are married over here, why did Rifka hear what Shem told her? She was how many months pregnant? V'inet thomim bevitna. It was utar and aleph. It's just a vav. Rashi says what? She didn't finish her term. They were born at 7 months. And she went to Shem, for the love of God. Shem and Ever, and she asked them, what's with these kids? She went to the Rav. She didn't go to her father-in-law. She didn't go to the family Rav. He was alive, Avraham. He's a Navi? Yes. Ask Avraham. No, she went to Shem. She wanted to keep it private. And she asked, why are these kids fighting inside of me? It doesn't make sense. Why is one kid going to Avodah Zarah, one kid going to Kedusha? And he says something to her. It says, yes, Avraham. How are you? Shnei goyim bevitnech. 2 nations are in you. 2 distinct human beings are in you. Shnei goyim. Every kid is a nation within himself. V'rav ya'avot tzayir. And the greater nation will serve the younger nation. Did she tell Yitzchak? I want to ask, did she tell Yitzchak anything? Her husband. What? Don't you want to tell your husband what you just hold from the prophet? Just think about it in some kind of common sense. If you just heard a prophecy about your child, wouldn't you tell your kid? No. And I'm going to give you a different, a stronger chidush over here. It's not mine. It's all Rav Reuben Feinstein said this last night. He said when Yitzchak Avinu knew that Yosef was sold by his brothers, did he tell anything to Yaakov? No. He didn't say a word. He didn't say a word. It's a very big lesson in our life, but it's not our point over here. The point is, I'm going to answer this question too on the way. How come Esav, that there were 2 brothers, 13, according to one midrash 13, according to one midrash 15 years old, that they got to a point that Esav says to Yaakov, sell me your bechorah for a bowl of lentil soup. What's lentil soup? You ever try lentil soup? It's not a piece of steak, I'll tell you that much. I mean, if you're selling your bechorah for something, sell them for a piece of steak. I mean, if you're already selling it. A piece of steak, some nice home fries, something good, some nice sauce. He sold them for the smallest pleasure. I'm sick of Bach. I sold them for the smallest pleasure. The smallest pleasure. That's what the Satan does to us, Rabbi Isai. I'm going to repeat this again. And I know there's a lot of kids who are listening to this. I'm going to tell you. The Satan gives you that J, that dub, that weed, that marijuana. And he says, smoke. Okay, it's just for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Tomorrow it'll be fine. And he gets into your head and he says, tomorrow you'll be a different person. But you're not. Because you're really not, if you're going to listen to your animalistic soul, you're really not that much different than a mouse. The scientists made a experiment with mice, our buddies. They took the mice, they opened up their head, and they put electrodes in their pleasure sensors in their you remember something from, yeah? So they put the pleasure sensors, and they put the sensors in a button, and the mouse happened to press on the button. Oh, he felt something. And the mouse kept on hitting it, boom, 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 until what happened to the mouse? It dropped dead. I don't know, heart attack, stroke, cold, whatever you want. It dropped dead. If a person keeps on feeding his Satan, and he feeds him, 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 what's going to happen to him? He's going to drop dead. He won't want a family. He won't want a life. He won't want kids. He won't care what. I heard a person this past Friday. He got so deep into his addiction that he told his kids, I don't care. I don't want to say the words he said, Lo Aleinu, but he said, I don't care what happens to my kids. He was so deep into his addiction. True story. I deal with a lot of stories. I'll tell you something, the stuff that I hear, Lo Aleinu but Al Am Yisrael, I'm telling you, when you steep deep into it, and that was who Esav was. Rav Nisim Yagen, Zecher Tzadik Kadosh Livrachas used to say, if you would see Esav on the street, you would think he's a Rosh Yeshiva. You'd think he was a Tzadik Yesod Olam. Jinji, nice, Yafeh, he looked Kadosh. He looked like a Rebbe. He looked like he was some kind of tzaddik yesod olam. Thank you. And when he used to come into a room, wow, the people used to give him kavod. But inside of him, he had a satan. He had a samech mem. He had samim. What's samim? How do you say drugs in Hebrew? Samim. And what's the first two letters of samim? Samech mem. That's all it is. Samim, drugs, is samech mem. Alcohol could be samim. Yes, it's true. It's true. No, that's with a sin. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. Sounds the same, but it's a kedusha. But then there is the other stuff, THC, whatever you say. It's what destroys a person. And that's why our last generation deals with these things. It's the only thing that Satan has left to deal with us. He has no other left thing to fight with us. He doesn't have, he's the dead guy already. I'm not laughing at him. I stand no chance against him. But he has nothing to fight us against. So what does he do? He put that garbage guy, Cuomo, Yimach Shemo V'Zicharo, King Cuomo, and he legalized all the klipa. On Main Street, you have a bus that's called the plug bus. On Main Street, it's called the plug bus. The plug bus means it's green. I'll give you a hint. And that's on Main Street. The Satan is just ready, just give you pleasure. That's the only thing he has left to do. That's how Cain. What's the name of cannabis? Cannabis is Otiot Cain. Cain. And he wants to destroy Klal Yisrael just with constant pleasure. Just give him pleasure. Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, snaps. Just snap it, snap. Have picture after picture after picture after picture after picture. And the kids go crazy. Why? They don't know how to handle constant pleasure, like a mouse. He presses the button and he sees something good. And he presses again and again and again and again and again. Till what happens? He explodes. He doesn't know what else to do. And no amount of shateh is going to help him. And then they say, just give him love. Fight love with love. But that's the Yetzer Hara. That's Esav. Just give him constant pleasure. We all know that smoking kills. We all know that excessive drinking kills. We all know that drugs kill, but they still do it. You know what they say when they're overly addicted? I'm not afraid to die. That's what they say. Drug addict, that's what they say. I'm not afraid to die, but before I die, I'll take everyone with me. Why? Because at the end of the day, he's saying the truth. The only thing he's missing is a relationship. I want to mention something about Hanukkah. Hanukkah is in 3 weeks. And I don't get to speak about Hanukkah. Why? Hanukkah is the only holiday that I have a hard time connecting with. Yeah, it's a hard holiday for me. I don't know how to connect with. I mean, you like candles. I like candles every day. Come to my house. I have lots of candles lit. Tzadikim, Kedoshim, Rishonim, Acharonim. It's hard time. I have a hard time. Listen, it's my own personal journey. By Hanukkah, there is such a powerful sentence that talks about the essence of Hanukkah. They say, the Chachamim, the halacha is the women are not allowed to work while the Hanukkah candles are lit. They can't work, laundry, cooking, whatever. Comes Rav Ovadia and says, only for half an hour. After half an hour, they could do whatever they want. Work, this, that. Why? Pachimu, chua. He says like this. Hashe'imum, boredom, mivi'a lideh batala. Causes a person's mind to be batel. When your mind is batel, what comes inside? All the avodah zarah, all the shtuyot. And pay attention, when is all the yetzer hara coming to your head? When your mind is batel. When is that? Right before you go to sleep. Right before you go to sleep. When you're busy during the day, the Satan doesn't have room to go in because you're busy, and he's anyways a piece of smoke. He cannot fight against you. He's nothing. Really, he's nothing. But before you go to sleep, you're mevatel yourself. Even David HaMelech cried about this. He said, Mitati, my bed, bedim'ati, with my tears, arsi, my cradle, amseh, I will make it heavy. When before I go to sleep, I cry. Why he cries before he goes to sleep? To try to bring himself to do avodah even right before he goes to sleep. Because that's when the Satan hits you the best. When you're about to totally collapse your neshama. And he gets you. And anybody, it's Arya Kadosh, anybody who thinks of shtuyot right before he goes to sleep, and we're all guilty, his neshama doesn't go up to the shamayim. It's impossible. He's overcoming his neshama with klipa. It's an envelope with klipa. And when it goes up, it gets meturaf baklipa. And he cannot get chalamot kedoshim. How many people text me, have a dream like this, dream like that? I said, Rebbe, I would love to ask him, Rebbe, what did you think about before you went to sleep? Did you think of kedusha? Did you think of tahara? Did you think of this? What did you do? What was your avodah? Says Rav Ovadia, Hashi'imum mivi'a lideh batala. And the batala mivi'a lideh avera. When you're not busy, that's when averot come to you. And that's the secret. That's the secret. It says, when did Am Yisrael lose their derech b'Torat Hashem? Vayishman yishurun vayiv'at. When they became fat. Fat with parnasa. What happens when they became fat? They kicked. What did they kick? They kicked Hashem. Kochi ve'otzem yadi asa li et hachayil hazeh. I was yesterday in the dinner, Rav Reuben Feinstein, Hashem should give him long life. He was speaking, and I'm telling you, I read the whole book of Rav Moshe Feinstein. A couple of his biographies I read. While he was speaking, I saw the stories of Rav Moshe, mamash. And he said, pardon me, while he was speaking, it was sad. I was holding myself back from a couple of tears. He said in the early 1900s, Rav MTJ has been around for 116 years. It's a yeshiva with yichas. And he said that when we were back there in 116 years, when my father was, they hired him to be Rosh Yeshiva. They hired him. He didn't start the yeshiva of Moshe. They hired him. When he was hired to be Rosh Yeshiva, all the board of directors, all the tzedakah givers, all of them were Machalel Shabbos. Yeah. But they believed in tzedakah. They believed in giving tzedakah. So they gave thousands of dollars. Thousand back then was tens of thousands today. Taking in relation to inflation. You know what, he said something so sad. None of their kids and grandkids are Jewish today. None of their kids. He said, you could see the video in the rewind. He said this, I'm repeating his words word by word, that none of their kids are Jewish, none of their grandkids, he said, are Jewish today. We have nothing left of them, he said. All the old board of directors that used to give, that built the yeshiva. He said they didn't believe in Torah and mitzvot, but they believed in tzedakah. That they believed in. Sound familiar? Then you know what he said? He said, incredible word. It's simple word really, but it's incredible because you know when he said it, he gave a... See, hearing it from a Gadol Hador, it means something else. Even though I was at the last row. He said, table 40. But 40 is 40 days of Har Sinai. And he said, you could find the Kedusha and everything. And he said, Yitzchak, don't think he didn't know Esav was a Rasha. Whoever says that is a fool. He didn't say those words, but I'm giving a little spice. Yitzchak knew that Esav was a Rasha. How he's not gonna know? According to one opinion, the Midrash, he became blind from his wives. And that's why he told his son, before he went to him to get the Korban Pesach, he told him to get the Korban for him, the food. He said, Sana keliecha v'kashtecha. What does Rashi say? Balaturim say? Prepare not your bow and arrow. Prepare your shchita knife. That means don't serve me treif. Why did Yitzchak tell him that if he was such a big tzaddik? Because he knew he was a Rasha. So he told him, don't serve me treif. Would you tell don't serve me treif to a good kid? Yes or no? Of course not. You say that to a kid that you know that how did he trust him then? So there is poskim that say when you know that he's a ben bait, he's part of your house and you trust him, you know that he's gonna, and you know, Esav was big in Kibud Avayim. So if his father told him, Sana keliecha v'kashtecha, make sure don't give me anything not kosher, he's gonna give him the kosher stuff. At the end what happened? Malach Gabriel came, and you know the whole medrash, and he came up giving him a dog. Lo aleinu. But I don't want to get into that part. Rifka imenu. Wow. Rabbi Isai, if you know, out of all of our mothers, who this woman was. Just last week's Parashah, the Torah, it dedicates almost 2 yeriot, how she's pouring water. Wow. How she's pouring water, just who Rifka was, it's unbelievable. And the whole Parashah over there is how she's building the Keter of the Shekhinah, says the Ari HaKadosh. And Rifka Imenu hears, Verifka Shomat. She's hearing. What's happening? She doesn't tell her husband, What are you doing? No, those were. What are you? No, not in my house. You gotta. No. She respects her husband, but she thinks differently. And she didn't tell her husband what Shem and Ever. And Yitzchak is a Navi. You know what she said? If Hashem wanted Yitzchak to know, he would have told Yitzchak himself. The fact that Hashem didn't tell Yitzchak, because there is a rule. When one Navi gets a prophecy, they all get it. In a certain way, they all get it. So she said, I didn't tell him. It's a very big lesson in marriage. Before we get to back Yitzchak and Esav, don't take me the wrong way. You have to know in what context I'm saying this. Mm-hmm. You don't have to say every little detail to your spouse. What you ate today, how many times you went to the receptacle. There's some things that you have to keep private. Because when you do that, it makes the relationship sweeter. When everything is known, then there is no fire in the relationship. Now, I'm not talking about people chasrom that do shtuyot. I'm talking about people that are yirei shamayim and everything. Some things that have to be kept in your private domain. And to the point that Rifka didn't even tell Yitzchak what's going to be with their kids. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm not Yitzchak Avinu, obviously. I would wish to be the dirt under the shoes that he walked on. But if she didn't tell him that, wow, that must be she had such a kal v'chomer in her mind that she wouldn't tell her husband such a thing. Rav Yavod Tzayir. And Yitzchak knew. Yitzchak had a vision, says the Medrash. What does it mean, Rav Yavod Tzayir? The greater will serve the younger. Yisachar and Zvulun. That Esav will work and be mefarnes Yaakov. He saw it in a positive way. He didn't see it in a negative way. But Rifka knew that's not what it meant. It meant that Rome and Esav and the Kritmachim and the Rishaim, and they're going to come, Chassom, and want to destroy Yaakov. And Rifka went and she said to Yaakov, Alai kilatcha. You know what kind of strong words they were? Alai kilatcha beni. This parashah is the most emotional parashah in the whole Torah. I'm giving this to you right now, hands down. She says to her son, the curse is on me. You know how old they were back then? Not 20 years old, 25. They were 63 years old. They were big guys, bigger than all of us over here. They were big guys. Esav and Yaakov. They're twins. They're 63 years old. Shem Sag. They're 63. And you look at the trepidation of Yaakov. V'hayiti be'enav kimitatea. He tells his father, I'm going to go inside to my father. He's going to feel me. He's going to say, it's not you. It's not Esav. I'm going to be kimitatea. I'm going to be a liar. He's so afraid of his father at 63 years old. Who could say such a thing at 63 years old? Beini or beincha? 63? Person gets 30, he already loses all. The Gemara says don't hit your son after the age of 23? No, 23, 22, something like that. 21 maybe. Yeah, one of those. Yeah, 21. Why? He might hit you back. Once you hit 21, don't touch him. That's you can't trust his Mora Ava'im anymore. After the Gemara says it, Kasei Kiddushin. 63 years old, Ribono Shel Olam. What was the year At Shamayim back then? Of Esav and Yaakov. And she tells him, don't worry. Alai kililatcha beni. The curse is on me. Lech kachli. Go get it. And just the simplicity. You don't even have to give this shiur on sod. The simplicity of the psukim is so deep. It's mamash a shiur on shlom bayit and chinuch yeladim. She tells him, take the gdi izim. I'm going to put it on you. Go inside, get a beracha. Rav Reuben Feinstein says like this. He said this last night. He said, all those people who used to give money to our yeshiva are gone. Why? Because the true Rifka saw an amazing nevuah, amazing chokhmah. The Torah, to be alive, has to have parnasah from its own learners. Torah cannot continue from people who don't appreciate Torah. They appreciate tzedakah. Very beautiful. It's very nice. But that doesn't say it's going to continue the legacy of Torah. To continue the legacy of Torah, the Torah's kesef, the parnasah, the sponsorship has to come from the people who learn Torah themselves. I'm saying his words, I'm saying verbatim almost. That means we sitting over here that learn Torah, that give our lives for Torah, that we appreciate Torah, we're the Yaakov. When Rifka said, Alai kililatcha beni, you know who she was talking about? Not that guy on Wall Street over there, his great-grandmother was Jewish, he thinks he's still Jewish. Not Ben Stiller, whose mother is Reform, he thinks he's Jewish. He's talking about us, Alai kililatcha beni, we're the Jews. Rivka saw the Torah, the Yisachar and Zvulun has to come from Yaakov himself, not from Esav. You can't rely on him. Yitzchak was wrong. And that's why Yitzchak Avinu, he lost out on the Nevuah. In this case, it was the woman's Nevuah. It was the mother's Nevuah that came and said, no! It's Yaakov that needs to do it. Because if you don't appreciate something, how are you going to support it? If you don't appreciate the community of Torah, if you don't appreciate the study of Torah, if you don't appreciate that we want to continue the Torah, then why would you give to it? You don't want to give to it. The Torah's parnasim have to come from themselves. That was the fight between Yitzchak and Rivka. The parnasah of the Torah has to come from themselves, and that's the secret of the bracha. The whole bracha of Yitzchak wanted to give Esav was 10 lines. V'yiten lecha ha'elohim mital ha'shamay mishmenei ha'aretz v'rov dagan v'tirosh ya'avducha amim yishtachavu lecha le'umim hevei gevir la'achecha v'yishtachavu lecha b'nei yimecha orerecha arur u'meverecha baruch. 12. Yitzchak, says the Ari, wanted to give Esav the 12 Shvatim. That's why that bracha had 12 parts to it. Rifka said if it goes to Esav, we have to go back to Tohu Vavohu. So she gave it. She tricked Yitzchak and she gave it to Yaakov. Of course it was right, and I'm going to prove it to you right now. At that moment she was screaming. I know we all feel for Esav. You're not the first person who said this. You know, many people feel for Esav. Why? Esav walks into the room. Vayitzak, tzaka, gedola, umara. He yells, Papa! Not Abba, Papa! And 3 tears comes out of him. 2 is the two Chorban Beit HaMikdash, and one of them, if Malach Gabriel comes and holds the tear, it would be the 3rd Chorban. Says the Mefarshim, Vayitzak tzaka gedola umara. Esav harasha. All of his life, he was looking for one thing. Pleasure. Do you know what was the secret of pleasure? The garments that God made to Adam HaRishon. That was the secret of the pleasure. But look at Esav. I don't want to give him Kav Zehut. I don't like the guy. Look at Esav. He didn't trust his wives with the garments. Who did he trust? His mom. That's the secret I heard for some Mefarshim. The garments of light were revealed on the day the Beit HaMikdash was built. But who overslept that night? Shlomo HaMelech. Who made him oversleep? His wife, the daughter of Paro. And who beat him up? His mom. And he wrote her the song Eshet Hayil Mimsa. Not everybody has that kind of mom. But we see a secret in Kabbalah over here. We have to put some little sod in here. That the sweetening of the judgment only happens in the root of the judgment. The true sweetening of judgment happens in its root. And that root is the Binah. In the Binah itself. The Binah is Bechinat Partzuf Ima. And in that Bechinat, that's where the sweetening of judgment happens. And that's why Batsheva fixed the garments of light of Shlomo. And that's why Esav trusted his mother. And that's why Rifka gave the Seir Izim to Yaakov. To turn Kotnot Or to Kotnot Or. Garments of leather to garments of light. Now, the secret of the Parnasah is in the bracha of Al Netilat Yadayim. You have to finish the shiur with a kavanah. Of course. And malaso. It's Leshem. When a person says the bracha of Al Netilat Yadayim, all the bracha of Parnasah is in there. Now, I just want to remind you guys, not everybody is meant to be the Esav of the Yaakov. Not everybody is meant to win. How much was the Mega Million Powerball? That 1.2 billion?
No, it went up.
Okay, listen, not 2 billion. After taxes, we're talking about. After taxes. One.
Short.
One short, yeah.
1 billion.
So not everybody is meant to be that. Hashem only gives the shefa to a right kli. It's always that's the case. If not, there is a shbirat hakeli. But yet the Ari teaches us that in the bracha of Al Netilat Yadayim, that's when we bring down the shefa of the Parnasah. Every Netilat Yadayim, when we wash for bread. How do we do that, says the Ari HaKadosh? How do we do that? When a person washes, of course, besides for the blessing of Abraham, we're talking about Parnasah over here, of picking up from the right to the left, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. After you wash your hand, you have to do a shifshuf. Shifshuf is a combination of the right hand and the left hand. There are two ways to do it. Some people go like this, 1, 2, 3. It's called a shifshuf. Some go like this, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and then you have to pick up your hand, says the Ari, Kol achorehem baita. The klipa sucks from the water off your hands.
This is for the washing of the bread.
Bread. The klipa sucks from the water off your hand. So that's why our hands are the only pieces of our body that's able to go down and it's able to go up. Besod chesed ve'gvura. So what do you do right away when you wash your hands, says Dari? You have to pick them up. And you have to pick them up like this. You have to connect the chesed and the gibura like this. And don't pick them up like this. You have to hold them by your face. Like this, like a person who's asking from Hashem, Parnasah. And before you say the blessing of Al Netilat Yadayim, Al Netilat Yadayim is Reshet Tevot Ani. Ani is what? Poor. Because the blessing of Al Netilat Yadayim helps a person not become an Ani. So therefore he has to think in his head, Vayiten lecha ha'elohim, mital ha'shamayim, mishmanei ha'aretz, verov dagan, vetirosh in his head. Ya'avducha amim, vishtachavu lecha le'umim, heve gevir la'achecha, vishtachavu lecha b'nei imecha, orerecha arur, umevarechecha baruch. And he has to have kavanah that the shefa of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu goes to all 12 partzufim, which is the soul of the 12 shvatim, until it reaches you, which is the soul. Umevarechecha, those who will bless you will be Baruch. And when you think of the word Baruch, you have to say Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kidishanu B'mitzvotav B'tzivanu al netilat yadayim. And Be'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach, a person will be zocheh le'shefa, bracha, parnasa tova, shefa yav, to the beracha that was given to Yaakov Avinu through Yitzchak Avinu, even though it's seemingly like a trick. And this is going to answer your question. When Esav came in, he said, he stole my blessing. What did Yitzchak say? People don't finish the parashah. Gam baruch yeh. He should be blessed. Because he had emunah. Emunah he had. If it happened that way, what does it mean? It was supposed to be that way. And he said, Gam baruch yeh. And that's the secret why Rabbi Akiva, why he was in jail, when they gave him the water, he said, I'm not going to mess up on the bracha of al netilat yadayim, because it's not just shefa parnasa in this world, it's also in olam haba. Hashem mizakeh et kulanu b'ezrat Hashem bebracha, hatzlacha, parnasa tova, shefa, v'shov v'rov alay le'olam, amen ve'amen. Rabbi Hananiah ben Akashim.